Hi, welcome to all, and welcome to the end of the harvest season. It is on fire. I don't have to tell you that. You understand that it is on fire. There are fire festivals that will be taking place in many different places of the world who hold um, knowledge of ancient rites of passage, right? So it's an initiatory phase that we are welcoming into our space. And when I say welcoming, it doesn't matter if you welcome it or not, the energy is here. And so many of us will have to find within ourselves the stability and a place of anchor to be able to navigate this time. We are going deeply into subconscious process, which happens during the fall and winter season, particularly the transition between fall and deep winter. And so we are approaching a time of deep introspection and self reflection. And if you're not comfortable with who you are and the decisions that you have made, you're going to have a hard time going within unless you intentionally set to conquer yourself in the process. And ultimately, that's what we're always doing. We're always going within to conquer the walls, the boundaries, the challenges that we set up for ourselves so that we can make a closer approach, another approach towards the divine, which dissolves the boundary and dissolves the challenge, right? It does so by transcending that experience. And when we transcend that experience, what we're doing is we're actually bringing balance to the inner experience of the outer expression. And so this is a pivotal time in the life of the planet, in the life of humanity, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere. The Southern Hemisphere is going through a similar process, but initiating the rites of a different seasonal tradition. And so there is a difference between the spring and the fall, right? You know, the fall finds us letting go, just as the leaves fall from the trees, and becoming those experiences or those leaves in our lives become the mulch for the new growth that will happen in the spring. Well, in the Southern Hemisphere, they're on the opposite side of that experience, and they're actually growing what was their fall, right? The fall of the transmutation and the sometimes death-like experiences that happen when we let go of things that we know are not serving us. And so Pluto is involved, and Pluto takes no prisoners, and it is a potent force. Pluto is going to affect the transmutation, whether you like it or not. And you can kick and scream, or you can actually aid the process by surrendering to it and setting deep intentions to integrate the experience that Pluto is bringing on. Welcome to your life. Welcome to 2024 closing season, and welcome to I Am Soma, Nectar of the Gods. And I am so pleased to be here with you. My name is Sophia, and today I'll be talking about this ending of a cycle of evolution that hopefully we've all taken on in some respect, in some area of our life. And undoubtedly that has happened because we have the Plutonic force of transmutation involved. It is that same force. If I could find a metaphor to explain to you, it would be that force that turns the caterpillar into larvae that results in the imaginal cells. Imaginal cells. What a beautiful concept for what becomes the butterfly. And that tearing apart of the caterpillar is the season that we're going into, that we have been in with the harvest. And now at the end of the harvest is that final push where it's done. And so we have fire festivals taking place throughout the world. In the Eastern tradition, the Diwali will happen. In the pagan or Celtic tradition, we have Samhain, and Samhain is also an initiatory rite of passage, a fire rite of passage, right? Not surprising. And it's a time when it is expected or said that the veil between our conscious thinking mind that's always going out into the world and that subconscious process that forms a backdrop to that thinking mind, that veil that covers it becomes thinner and thinner. And it is thought that at this juncture, we have the greatest opportunity for growth because the subconscious becomes available for experience in our daily life. So we have an understanding or an awareness of those experiences that have informed our outer life, such as deep hurts or feelings, feelings of guilt and shame and like and anger and guilt and sadness, and those emotions that have informed our inner process are actually stored within the physiology, within the body. And during this time, they awaken to our awareness, and we know what it is that perhaps we've been running from, what it is that no longer works for us, if we're really honest. And with Pluto having just gone direct on the 11th of October, it is a indication that the transformation is ready to be integrated. And what a fantastic opportunity we all have to integrate that experience in the light of day, meaning that you're fully aware that you are integrating an experience that is either painful, uncomfortable, that's going to require commitment, dedication, and devotion on your part in some respect to pull it through. And because we're going into the seed stage of the year, right? So with the solstice as the culminating experience that leads us back to the light, right? So we have an opportunity here to truly take care of that seed. The harvest is over. What you were to gain in terms of, the cornucopia full of fruits that just emerged in your life, where you get the messages and you're creating balance. It's a season of judgment. It's a season of actually separating the wheat from the chaff. And so now that you have gotten your kernel of wisdom, so now that kernel of wisdom that resulted from the experiences since the spring through the summer and into the fall, you have an opportunity to hold that pearl of wisdom in your life with deep regard and deep devotion and deep regard, reverence and respect and commitment and dedication, so that you can plant it in fertile ground within your own inner being and bring out its essence for the sun of day that will emerge in the spring. And we're all on this journey. Everyone on earth is on this journey in their own way, depending upon the seasonal experience that they're having. And so, it is said that during this time, Samhain, which is just a few days away, actually next Thursday, we have the November 1st experience with the Halloween, which is, I believe, a subversion of a very spiritual time on earth. And even in this, to give you a clue, during Celtic times, they would dress up in costumes to ward off evil spirits. Remember that anything out there is a projection of what's in here. So the evil spirits that may have been projected in the past out into the environment are in resonance with something within, right? So clearing that energy within yourself, if you see it out there, it's in here. So creating the equilibrium, which is the gift of the harvest season, the judgment period, when you create balance, where your heart is weighed against the feather in the traditions of Egypt and the initiatory traditions of Egypt. Now you have an opportunity, now that you've regained that balance and perhaps transcended to a deeper level of understanding, so that you can go beyond the judging of right and wrong and be in a place of equanimity. This time offers you an opportunity to conquer yourself, because ultimately that's all that there is to conquer. Is yourself, is your inner self, is your inner experience, is that subconscious. And that subconscious process is going to become available to you by means and by awareness of the seasonal vibratory frequency that's available right now. When we're speaking of seasons, we're speaking of angles of relationship between the Mother Earth and we are Mother Earth, and the constant energy that's always present, right? It's the unified field of natural law. And if it's incoherent in its functioning, it's a reflection of the incoherence that exists within you. Nothing outside of you can harm you without your permission. So, and your permission is given by your belief systems. And unless you're taking time for some self-reflective practices, then you're going to believe that the rope is a snake, and you're going to see you're going to see it move. Meanwhile, it's just a rope. And the only way that you can see it clearly is by clearing the lenses of perception with which you are looking at the world. And the lenses of perception are colored by your subconscious, which means that they're colored by the experiences that you have had and the meaning that you give to them. So in order to cast your vision to a higher ground requires that you cleanse the lens of perception. And that's what the Eastern traditions of knowledge and practices bring to the table. I'm going to leave it there, because I've spoken previously about yoga, asanas, and pranayama, and meditation, and abhyanga, and Ayurvedic principles of healthcare, of preserving health, that are designed specifically to help you clear the physiology and the neurobiology of that debris of experience that is held within the body, because it creates inner balance. And then when you have inner balance and you have released those tensions from the physiology, that information is obviously shared with your consciousness, which is present in your entire organism, and it allows you to function and be able to transcend to a higher level of understanding. So these costumes can also be thought of as understandings that we wear in awareness, right? Like we adopt a different way, a different perspective, a different philosophy of living, and that becomes your costume, so that you're not projecting evil into experiences, which in turn will, given the feedback loop that we're in with the environment, will turn around and harm you. There's always a feedback, right? And so we want to be aware of that. They also left offerings to benevolent spirits. So how can you enliven, give offerings to that essence within you that worships a higher ground, that sees you at your best, right? Like, where's your vision? How do you create a vision for the expression of your highest and your mightiest and your best in the world, so that you're not trapped by the perception of inner experiences from the past that left samskaras, literally scars in your consciousness, and every cell has consciousness, right? So we store these hurts and these perceptions, these things that have happened to us within the organs of our body. And that's where the chakra system comes in, which demonstrates that, you know, if you have experiences which tighten your heart and make you feel hurt, well, that's where it's held. If you're feeling angry, well, then that might involve your liver, and, you know, like that. And if it's your inability to digest experience, so then it has to do with the food that you're eating and the information that you're bringing into your life, which you're unable to digest. So all these systems theory is super important because it helps you to understand that your body and your mind are a system, and that you're allowing things to interpenetrate, come into that system when you're incoherent. And so maintaining balance is important because that's the coherence that allows you to ward off the evil spirits. You know, it's very simple, right? So the archaic way of thinking that we're connected to nature, they call it archaic, but it's actually, in my opinion, the most advanced way to live, is to recognize that we're on this living organism that can potentially, if you listen, if you're aware, right, it has to be in your awareness that you are communicating with an immense intelligence that is Mother Earth. And so when you begin to work with the elements, as you do in Ayurveda and as you do with astrology, because every sign is, it's a sign, it's either air or fire or earth, right? So we're talking about the elements, and these elements are none other than the same constitutional elements that make up your physiology. So you are that, right? Like I have a lot of Libra in my chart, so I have a lot of air, and it's a masculine air because it's Libra, and Libra is a masculine sign. So I'm often in thought and projecting thought, and like that. I also have a presence in the other sign that is ruled by Venus. Libra is ruled by Venus, which is Taurus. And Taurus is a more receptive sign. It's a feminine sign. So it brings in, it's in a state of receiving and magnetizing from the world. So knowing these things are super important because it helps you lean into what works for you. I'm going to go to the chart now because I really said a lot. We're in a transition phase from life into that deep, deep experience of being grounded with the earth. We've elevated, we've been on fire over the summer, and then we came into this watery emotional substance of the earth. The earth is also, there's the ocean, and then there's the soil, right? And there's also a lot of air present, a lot of wind, a lot of mental machinations, right? The mind is working. And so now we're going into Scorpio, and Scorpio seeks to, now we are in Scorpio in the Western zodiac, Western traditions. Scorpio is the underbelly, is the deep, deep frames of the marginalized in our own awareness. And that shows up in the marginalization of people, places, and things, how we may be in the fringes in our life in some respect, whether emotionally or intellectually or physically. It all depends on your own chart, right? So you need to see where Scorpio is in your chart. And as we transform from this life into death, there's a transmutation that takes place, and Pluto is really ready now. Pluto is the modern day ruler of Scorpio, and so Pluto is really ready to take you there, like it or not, kicking and screaming. And if you hold on to the boundaries, to taking prisoners, to attachments, to obsessions, to compulsions, which are significations of the more negative side of the Scorpion directive, right? Because Scorpio also represents the initiatory fires of enlightenment and illumination. And so we're asked to ascend to that level of understanding. And so at the time of the new moon, we have the sun. It's in the morning at 7:47. So it's sunrise. And so this is imprinting, an immense period of just churning. And what I mean by churning is literally a mortar and a pestle, like a whirlpool, just like pounding away at the conceptual frameworks that no longer work for you. And so, the moon is there. So there's a subconscious and a conscious process that there's a dance that's happening there that needs to be brought to the light of day because it's the sun in that position at sunrise. Mercury is present. It is not within a close orb of the moon and the sun. It's over 10. So it's still present in the general container of that energy, and it's influencing, but it's not a strong influence. But the mind is awake to the experience of the subconscious and the conscious process, moving together in this way to give you an idea. And it can be it's actually forming a beautiful trine to Mercury is to Neptune and to Mars, which gives strength to the mind to capture what is happening here. What is happening within me that is resulting in that needs to change. And only you know what that is. I can't tell you what that is. An astrologer can only tell you what the energies are. The decision as to how that's going, what you're going to make of that is your free will. And anyone who tells you that you're going to fail, if you believe them, then you will fail. If you believe that you'll succeed, whether you believe you're right or wrong, you're right. That's the point. And so don't let anybody capture that God-given will that you have to make changes, because God said the word and there was light. So that capacity sits within you, and it sits within your throat chakra, which is actually anyway. Okay, so there's also a kite formation between Uranus, Mars, and Neptune, with Mercury at its helm. So what's holding this tension in place is Uranus. And Uranus, at the time of this alignment, Uranus is direct, Mars is direct, Neptune is retrograde. So Neptune is asking for a spiritual call within, and the other planets, Uranus is demanding change. Uranus wants the revolution to take place, but the revolution will not be televised. The revolution is going on within you. We know we're not going to get it. We're going to get only the atrocities from media, right? So we have to be very careful, because the energy is always in balance. It's the yin and the yang. It can be no other way. So although there appears to be a sensationalized experience of negativity, it is inevitably true that there is an incredible balance on the opposite side of that equation, which is of goodness. And your job and my job and everybody's to do right now is to find the middle ground, to walk in balance, not to walk on the side where everything's dark, and not to be, toxically happy, but to have a middle ground of some balance and neutrality and equanimity, which is what the Eastern practices bring to the mind and the body, because the mind and the body are one. You are the mind, all of you. Your entire physiology is the mind. The brain is a processing system, as is your nervous system, which is in your spinal cord. And it's connected. The nervous system is connected actually throughout the body. So you are, all of you is mind. All is mind. Consciousness, outside, inside, everywhere. So beautiful. So We are here to explore that during this season with fire, meaning that their fire transforms, fire transmutes. Wherever you introduce the element of fire, there is a complete change from one state of molecular, at the molecular level, of molecular functioning into a different state, right? So that change is being asked of us within. And in addition to that beautiful kite formation with tension between our inner spiritual life, how we take action in that towards that spiritual life, whether in the outer or the inner, and the inner is the outer. So there you go. And Mercury, the intellect. How are you making sense of this? And Uranus, which is holding that tension, is of innovation, creativity, scientific. We are taking it to the next level, wherever this is in your chart. And it's important to become familiar with your chart. You should know the placements of all your planets in your chart. You should know your ascendant. You should know where your sun and your moon are. You should know where every planet is to the degree. I highly recommend that for you, for everyone. You're the one if you've done that. You're the one. You have been lit by a spiritual essence that will reward you, not reward you, that will feel rewarding throughout your life because it's a tool for self-transformation. When you know your chart, you can lean into the strengths and into the strengths, and where there may be some karmic seeds that have been nurtured in the past, you can find ways to work with the energy so that you can modulate and self-regulate your emotional life. Okay, so, oh my goodness. Hold on. Just give me a second here. Give me a second here, okay, so, and then there's a trine. In addition to that kite that's asking for requesting. Yeah, that's putting it mildly when we talk about Uranus, because Uranus is a rebel. Uranus wants to change yesterday. And he's been treading, the goddess creative experience has been treading through the earth and is asking for a different way of navigating this plane. And I'm going back to the archaic because the archaic, the pagan, was grounded on the earth and the nature spirit, right? So reconnecting with that for information is a crucial step during this period. In addition, there's a trine relationship between Mars, Mercury, and Neptune. I already spoke about that. That is an easy relationship that requires intention to activate, because you can just, it's like being on a hammock and you're easy and, and everything is flowing. So you want to do something to activate that. And it depends on where it's placed in your chart. For example, in the chart of the moment at the new moon, it would require, and this is the lens through which we want to be looking at the cycle, the new cycle that's begun. We want to be looking at it through the lens of the new moon. And so it is in the first house of identity. So you want to bring the moon and the sun, the significations, and Mercury into your awareness, the intellect, the spirit, and the soul, the soul being the sun, the spirit being the moon, and the intellect being Mercury. You want to bring those three into alignment so that you know which steps to take, actions to take in the relative level of experience, guided by the foundation of your life, right? Because Mars is still in Cancer. And all of this is colored by a deep inner understanding of your spirit, of your spiritual life, because Neptune is in Pisces and it's ruled by and it's the Lord of Pisces, and it's at the 29th degree, so it's about to leave. During this cycle, we will experience the movement of Mercury into the sign of Sagittarius. Right now, the temple priestess is in the house. Venus is in Sagittarius. The goddess is romping through the temple. She wants, the goddess is magnetizing this amazing opportunity for the next adventure that is to take place. She is in a tight square with Saturn. Do not fear, because Saturn and Venus actually are good friends. Saturn is the Lord, is exalted in Libra, where Venus is Lord, and Venus is exalted in Capricorn, where Saturn is Lord. Isn't that something? So isn't that beautiful? And during the middle of the month, Venus is going to transit into Capricorn, where she is exalted, giving you an increased ability to magnetize the structures and the boss in yourself, within yourself, for bringing out into your opportunities for growth. Because Capricorn is all about growth, and it's all about being the boss, and it's all about your place in the world. So this is a very promising chart as far as I can see. If you do not give in to the negative expression of Venusian principles, which is greed and envy and jealousy and all those unfavorable aspects, and you give in to creating beauty and balance and diplomacy and being your charming self, and doing so with the purpose of achieving a higher expression of your divine essence. And so I have come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this brings you some guidance. Let me think for a minute. As we go into the new moon, we will be at the balsamic phase in Libra. Again, diplomacy, balance, equanimity, separating the wheat from the chaff, being clear in your understanding about where you have arrived. And that will give you the stepping stones for how to move to the next level. And the next level will require some deep interpenetration and self-reflection of your own perspective, so that you can harness that seed, the kernel of wheat, to plant for growth at and water during the solstice. So we are toward going into the silent night. The light will continue to diminish, awakening more and more of our own subconscious process. I want to mention, as you know, the balsamic phase, it's done. It's done, literally. That is the TIFF. That is the time for devotional practice. And those are the 3 days preceding the new moon. So whatever you can do to bring yourself within. This is not a time to be out in the world, of experience. This is a time to really water the seed that you have found, that kernel of wisdom that is going to get you through this darkness. It is the inner light, that kernel of wisdom, literally. And so it's not the time to fight. It's not the time to be out in the world. The seed will lie dormant within you, and it'll bring you the understanding that you need. But that happens in silence, not when the mind is chattering. Meditation is important. It's important to empty the ashes from, meaning the past experiences. That's where the Eastern practices come in. And let go of what is outworn in your life, the people, places, and things. Just let it all sit where it is, and practice no judgment. Just allow and see what emerges from that experience. Trust is key. And so at the new moon on November 1st, be creative with life. You give life to all that has been stirred up within you because you honored yourself for the period of time that this transition into the darkest hour before the solstice, right? We're going into the stillness of the night. So you want to honor that with some reverence and respect. You want to make it sacred. And the things that needs to be sacrificed, because that's actually what sacrifice means, to make sacred. And the things that are going to have to be sacrificed so that you can achieve that. It is a deep message. It is a message of joy. It is a message of insight, of visioning, of creativity, of the golden moment within. And I can't stress it enough. Give yourself an opportunity to grow. With all the love in my heart, I leave you now. Thank you so much for watching. If you watch this to the end, you are on fire, because I know I am. And so here we go. I look forward to seeing you on the other side of this, and we will be in touch. All love to you. Visit my website and explore. It's iamsoma.com, and explore your inner life and explore astrology. And if you'd like to chat with me, send me a message here on YouTube, and I'd be more than happy to take some time to coach you through some spiritual knowledge. All blessings. Take good care. I love you all.